call this special town meeting to order. Scott? And Dave, would you like to lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Ask if there is anyone here who, in the public who would like to speak. You've got 5 minutes. Must state your name and address.
Want to go to the podium?
Please, yeah.
All right. Thank you, welcome.
That's why you're here.
Yeah. Tim Kelly. 62 West Street. I was reading ahead this meeting here and reviewing the town goals presentation. Seems our current priority list is really all spend and no save, with no specific cost saving or consolidation initiatives. There's a proposal to renovate or replace the football field and running track. High school. I'm up there every week. There's nothing wrong with those facilities. So I'm requesting this. It seems to be suggested that we extend the never-ending high school campus. I think it's really time to stop processing payments and contracts. Let the building committee members find new outlets. Now that we have 2 town hall buildings, there is a request to renovate or invest in old one that are standing. I've not seen a specific plan for how we're going to utilize the space being freed up. I didn't get into that. We have over 30,000 square feet here, and the remaining probate uses, I think, 3,000 to 5,000 square feet. I certainly don't think there's an appetite to take on more debt related to municipal facility expansion. So I look forward to hearing more details from Chuck. On a separate topic, I believe the vote at last week's council to raise the general rainy day fund balance from 15% up to 20%. They've been ill-advised based on how it could constrict us short term. Currently, we have an underfunded town pension that could probably benefit from cash infusion. And coming up in a year, we will likely see another significant property reval tax burden shift onto homeowners at the same time that our town debt payments also crest. So this first meeting move may be worth more in-depth consideration. And I think it's okay to take a first meeting off. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Chambers? Is there anybody online who might like to make a comment?
No hands are raised.
All right, going once, twice. All set. All right, we'll close public comment. Thank you very much, everybody. Move on to the consideration of special topic C. Do we need to make a motion? I didn't think so. We'll be discussing the 2026-2028 town government plan manager goals.
So based on the direction given to me at the January 13th meeting, I've put together a draft 2068 strategic plan goals attached, which was in your packet, were suggested goal modifications and new goals for town council consideration. I also evaluated the goals to determine the level of cost, complexity of the topic, staff workload, and town council. As such, each variable was assigned an icon and a color to determine its ranking and the level of attention it requires. Just so I think everyone realizes that the 2-year plan and these goals may need to be prioritize based on timing and implementation. I'm looking to you, Brian, and the council. I thought what I do is kind of go through the plan and just kind of overview where we stand on each one of those goals. And should I go through it, or how do you want to work it, that we ask questions, or?
And that's as we go along, so we stay.
Yeah, I think so,
That
right?
makes sense.
Yeah, does that make sense to everyone? We can do that. Kat, you're driving. Kat's gonna help me go through some of these skills, so. As obviously you see the icon on the screen, red, yellow, green, potential high cost. Yellow is medium, and green is low, based on cost, complexity, and workload of both the town council and the staff. All right, so the first goal is goal 1, and this was to establish an ad hoc committee of town council members and staff to discuss the future of Parsons property and make recommendations on that goal for town council consideration. This was a priority 2 goal. Where we have left that is the town has a 25-year lease on the property. It's a state-owned property. I'm recommending we leave as modified open space at this time. Right now, we have the option of that we could put benches, we could put a, one time we were talking about a welcome center, but I think that the historic district had bought the property across the street, and that's where they're going to go. My view would be, but we can talk about it at the end, would be that this goal, we keep it as modified open space and keep it as is. And we remove the goals.
Okay, so we're gonna leave it at it, but remove the goal.
I would say leave the property, don't touch the property, leave it as is, and then remove them.
Okay. Any discussion? Comments? Okay,
So consensus on that?
consensus on
Yes,
that?
yeah, okay. The next goal is goal 2, manage the actions taken to improve traffic problems, including with the state of Connecticut Department of Transportation on a quarterly basis. Report on the following projects to the town council on a quarterly basis. So the new bridge over Monteith Drive, Route 4, continue to move forward with public outreach to work with CROG and DOT to identify preliminary design of the project. And 2, Burlington Road reconstruction, received Connecticut DOT and CROG approval to advertise bid and award the project this winter. So the status of the goal is the Burlington Road project is complete. On the new bridge, we had applied for the, I think it was the RAISE grant last year. We did not receive the RAISE grant. We are applying again for the BUILD grant at the end of the month. I don't know, Brian, would it be helpful for me to kind of give the council kind of a synopsis of where we are on the third
Please, yeah.
bridge? That'd be helpful for everyone. So where we are on the third bridge right now is that we know where the location is, where we want to go, and CROG and the staff worked going back a few years to make it a regional bridge, and that took some time to go through, and we had to get a study done. And the study was complete, and that took a couple of years, and it was considered very high priority for the region to have this third bridge. So that was good news, but that took some time from where we were. In the meantime, during that time, across the street, as some of you may know, is that the town purchased a piece of property. There's a house on it right now. We're using it as a rental. That would be a staging area for when the bridge came over. That house would be taken down when the bridge is built. So it would be a staging area. Right now, we're collecting rental income on it. We also are interested in potentially buying some property on the other side of the river for the bridge. But until we get some funding, we have held off on doing that until the funding that we have money to do the bridge. One of the things, every administration calls the grant something different, but now it's called the BUILD grant. But when it was the RAISE grant, I think this will be the 3rd time we've applied for it. It's for the design of the bridge. The last time, and don't keep me to the numbers, but let's just say there's 20 criteria in the grant. So we got the grant, we had a meeting with the federal government to go through our application. And out of 20 criteria, 17 of them were rated a 10. And only 3 of them were rated not a 10. So, and again, don't quote me on the number, you get my point. So we were really, really excited about it. So over the last 6 months, Russ and his group have been working on those 3 areas to get those numbers up so we are applying at the end of the month, and we are hopeful that if we can get those 3 criteria up to a 10, then we could get the design of the bridge. The design of the bridge would be the next huge milestone, because once we get the design of the bridge, then I think the town, we would look at purchasing the piece of property behind. We have the background of the CROG study. It's a regional project. We really get the ball rolling to do it. And so that's the next step. It seems like we've kind of been in limbo a little bit. The only reason why we've been in limbo is because we don't have the cash to design the bridge ourselves, and we've been looking for funding to do it. So that's basically where we are on the 3rd bridge, and the application's due at the end of the month. Presently, we're getting our representatives, our federal people, CROG, everyone's writing letters. We've had meetings with them. And so according to Russ, we have some level of hope that, we had a really good application and they were really pleased with it. It's very, very competitive, really competitive. So that's where we are.
Are there any questions?
No.
Okay, just a typo note. Under deliverables, bullets 3 and 4, repeats of 2.
Yeah. Okay. Are they, Kat? Do you know what they're talking about? Okay, yeah, noted. We'll get rid of those things first.
Thank you.
Kat, could you give me a seltzer? Number 3, provide needed support so that the Bicycle and Trails Advisory Committee moves forward and receive the appropriate staffing support to complete its objectives, provide quarterly reports to the town council. The status of that is ongoing. My recommendation is to continue this goal. I think we do need to have a little bit of discussion regarding the scope of this work and the staffing availability. Brian, you have been the liaison on that. We've had some discussion, but before we even get to that, one of the things that we recently have done because of a staffing issue, we've applied for back a couple of years back. It's called the connectivity grant, and we received that grant. I think what is it, Kat? About $350,000.
Probably more like 2. I know off the top of my head.
Okay. It's a large grant, and it's really what it is to trails, different things to the Yukon Health Center. And it's a connectivity grant. We received that grant. And one of the things that we need to do is we need to go out for design and do things. We have to start implementing that. So this staff person for the bike committee and the bike committee has been involved in this process. So this is something that the bike committee, I think, should be taking on. It's a big project because we're going to lose the money if we do not do it. In the meantime, the bike committee has a lot of great initiatives. And it's a question of staffing, about how we to be able to do some of the things. But with the connectivity grant, what we recently did, and we've asked, and they said it wasn't, they've never done it before, but it didn't mean it wasn't allowed. We applied for a grant for a part-time person that potentially could help us do the connectivity grant, and also maybe help us with the bike committee and do some of the administration of the bike committee, because really a lot of it isn't that difficult. It's just a question of just administration of it. And as you guys know, the planning and zoning department is just really busy, and it always becomes the back burner to do. And it has been set up as an advisory committee. There is definitely a push for that. They are pushing that they'd like to do more. And Brian, you can talk to that more about that. But at the staffing levels we have right now, I mean, if we get the grant, I think that will solve most of the problems. If it doesn't, I really think that the staff should be spending their time on spending this money on the grant and do that.
That is definitely a priority. But to your point, if we can get a trail coordinator take care of some of the maintenance things. And I know that doesn't mean they actually do the maintenance, but they work with the maintenance department to get some of that stuff done, like the bollards. There are some things that they would like to do, some trail cleanup, which would, I think, alleviate some staff work. So I think that will help alleviate, the staff, so they can focus on the trail design and take care of some of the actual trail stuff that needs attention. And that's kind of what they see as almost daily bike riders. They see that, not just the trail, but also on the roads. So that they will, as advisors, let people know what we see and ask that that be addressed. So that's kind of the things that they haven't pointed out, but you're right, that does take time and effort.
Kathy, you mentioned in your advisory committee, I'm assuming that means these basically kind of volunteer, kind of give thoughts on how to, become more bike friendly in the town.
Absolutely.
Is there a way or a mechanism we, as the council, can get the process of perhaps placing a bit more responsibility for some of the things that we're talking about right now? Removes them from just being an advisory committee. Teeth to relieve, because I know there's a lot of people who are very interested in this.
Yeah,
And it's a staffing challenge, and I can understand why it's a staffing challenge. To kind of take the pressure off town staff. And I guess my question is, Brian, is that something that you would have to kind of talk to with respect to like advisory committee? Like how does that, what would that look like? I think you understand what I'm trying to ask.
I think that's
I
kind of what
think-
the coordinator would hopefully be doing.
Yeah, one of the things that we've tried to do, Bill, because one of the things that they've been frustrated, rightly so, about is that they haven't had any goals. And they're like, they were advisory. So like one of the things that I tried to have happen is that like set up some goals. And then let's try to accomplish those goals. But, if you need funding to do bollards or because what's happening is that they go to the meeting and then we want bollards. And then the next week we want to do this. The next week we want to do that. And this is really just about a staff administration, just pulling it all together and, having a higher level person do it, that then that higher level person can talk to another higher level person and do it. And it really wasn't set up that way. But that said, the biking and the trails and all the things that go along with it people are really interested in it. And so it's kind of a push-pull of, resources where I say to Bruce Cedar, are you going to an inland wetlands or are you going to 3 bike committee meetings? It's just, that's where we're at. And so I'm hoping like maybe with the maybe getting a grant and potentially getting some goals that actually are attainable that we can go back and like the council can look at it and say, we want the bollards done, we want X done, we want different things. And then the funding, because there's no funding for it either. So. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, is that something you feel comfortable letting a coordinator kind of champion?
I think
working with the town?
I think how we kind of envision it is that depending on who the person would be, is that they would take the legwork off Bruce.
Yeah.
And so Bruce, they would be able to do the agendas, follow up, make sure everything's done. And then if they have the skill set, which we would be looking for, they could do it and push it to Bruce and just, it's
Right.
not really that difficult. It's just really about time.
Yeah.
It's about time.
So if we can add someone who will add their time that would take away from Bruce would be a good thing.
Right,
So let's focus on that.
right. And
You're talking about doing that additional grant.
right, and we applied, but we'll see what happens, but if we don't get it, I really feel like, and again, I get bike committee feels like they need a purpose, but actually getting this grant and the group pushed to get this grant, they did have a big purpose, they got a big grant, and so then having them monitor what's going on and actually have the staff spending the time doing the grant and doing it, it would be a purpose, instead of picking and choosing all these different things and then actually getting a design done. And then the next step is going for another grant to fund the design. So then all around Yukon Health, you have the sidewalks, you have the bike paths. That's what this whole grant was about. So again, I think if we could, I'm hoping, it makes sense like these grant people to say, hey, if we want to really do this grant, it would help to get a grant person to help us facilitate it.
Yeah.
So,
Making them more connected,
right.
which is what the goal is. And they also see since they ride the roads and trail all the time, they see things that need to be addressed.
Right.
Safety issues really are things that.
We know when the grant decision will be made.
I think they said March.
So around the time we're doing our budget.
Yeah. I mean, and that would be something, again, we don't get the grant to consider as like just a part-time person to kind of help in that office to do some of this stuff. And I mean, that's something too, but
Consideration.
yeah.
Is there a grant right now that can be tapped at all, or?
We applied for the grant and they don't typically do people for the grant,
Right.
but we were like, listen, if you give us the person, then we'll be able to facilitate the grant. And I think Kat wrote the grant application for engineering, and I think we hit a lot of the bullet points, and they seemed like they weren't against it, so we were, you know.
Oh, yeah, Kat, thanks for getting that out, Kat. It looked good.
Brian, if we have comments on the other deliverables,
Right.
should we do them
As we go through.
or should we do them?
As we go through, that's, we're not going back. Let's just follow the order. So if there are other comments, talk about it, let's bring them up.
Yeah,
One of the questions I have is the traffic review board.
Which object is it?
This is still.
This is
This is the deliverable, the first deliverable.
Deliverable.
Okay, 2.4, got it.
In terms of the transparency of the traffic review board and getting information back to the council about what's happening, I understand that I've always get traffic on the street for that street. And it'd be nice to have just general information about what the traffic review board is doing.
Is this specific though to this goal?
yeah, it's a deliverable 2.4, the first one on there, yeah. So by law, you have to have a local traffic authority, and I am the local traffic. So way back in the day, what I did was very, very confusing because tons of people would call and say, I want a stop sign, people are speeding, this is happening, that's happening. And it's very emotional about what people want. And it's not necessarily what is and what is required by law. And so what I did was establish a traffic review board. And what that board is really is my staff. And we call it the traffic review board. And we've opened it up to try to make it more transparent. But honestly, the reality of it is it's like a department meeting. It's a department meeting where they go through it, and I don't even go to the meetings typically. I have gone on different times where we don't have staff and things like that, so that I can get an unbiased opinion about what the neighborhood, a person is asking for, without politics, without emotion, about anything that goes on. And so they make recommendations to me on letters, and I look at the letters, and then I soften them, I go back with them, I try to do my job to see if there's things I can work out with them. And I will tell you, when we started, we probably had 75 or 80 requests a year. Now we have maybe 10, and most of them are the same request over and over again. We try to now put it on the minutes so people can look at it. We've now allowed people to come to the meeting to express their opinion if they want to. We never used to allow that, but we allow that now. We've done different things to try to have people have an insight on it. I'm open to try to do some different things with it, but we've called it the traffic review board because it's really just experts in engineering and the police and the cops that come along and try to give me information on various things. They all get a letter, they all get a response letter. We try, then we have follow-ups because we have stop signs, we do various things all over. We do selective enforcement. We have a traffic officer that meets with people. In the past, if it's a bigger issue, we've had neighborhood meetings where the traffic officer has met with people, depending on what it's all about. So that's kind of where this board we've gotten to help with the traffic. I mean, I could do different things. I mean, the minutes are online, the agendas are online, but again, we don't typically, I've done that. We've done agendas because it's easier for me to track it, but I don't typically do agendas like that for my staff. You know, it's more like to help us track, make sure people are doing what they're supposed to be.
When is this meeting?
It's usually, I think, the third Thursday of the month, but it fluctuates. Yeah. We've been doing it probably 20 years now.
Are there any other questions?
Would this be, you know, because obviously there's a lot of stuff about, you know, traffic cameras now, you know, of all different types, speed, you know, stop sign cameras. So I guess my concern is, you know, these are big policy types of rules, right? And so, which have a direct bearing on traffic.
That would be,
Right.
yeah.
So I guess from my vantage point is like, you know, it's one thing to maybe manage, you know, somebody wants a stop sign at an intersection or whatever it might be, right? But I think, you know, technology has amped us into this whole new area. And I just wonder, you know, is there a way that the traffic review board, I'm assuming that's where this lands?
No. So what would happen with that? That's a different thing, because that's a policy decision. I think we have a goal in that. So what those types of things, okay, so like, let's just say the cameras and the different things. What the traffic review board's goal would be, and again, think of it more as like a staffing group of people, would be making recommendations to me that says, Route 6, this is where I think we would need it. This place, this is where we need it. But that's a policy decision that's coming to the council. And so and that's one of the goals here and later on, is that there has to be an ordinance. The chief would come. We talk about whether or not we're doing the cameras or not doing the cameras. So that would be the whole process that would go along with that. What the traffic review board would be doing for me would be saying, where are the recommendations where they think, because they study the traffic, where we need those cameras.
So maybe this is an opportunity to evolve, you know, this traffic review board, which started life as a departmental meeting, into something more. And I think you even outline that in the goal as discussion regarding the scope of the group's work. It maybe we're on, you know, the cusp of needing to do more with that because of all of the things that are coming together in that. And it might be an opportunity to make it more useful to us.
Yeah, I think if anything, what we've done in the past, which would be helpful, and I think it's probably time again to do it, is that, you know, we go like this with the traffic, you know, it's traffic's our number one concern, but it's twofold. We have neighborhood traffic, and then we have traffic on the major roads, okay? And we've gone throughout history on different things that we go. I think what would probably be helpful is that maybe we have a goal, that we have a little ad hoc committee with a couple of council people, with some staff people, that we can talk about traffic, that talk about Route 4, talk about what we've done, talk about the cameras, talk about the traffic review board, talk about the syncing of the lights. I mean, there's a lot of different things that have come around, and like, you know, we had little ad hocs where we worked in Unionville Center about doing right turn lanes and different things. I think we've come, full circle now, where, again, one of the big things are when you're talking about on Route 4, 6, and those roads, is that old traffic studies, in my opinion, don't mean anything anymore because of the fact that people are working from home. And all our studies are based on people coming in at 7:30 in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, maybe some lunchtime, and then getting out in the afternoon. The other thing is that all our studies have been done on coordinating lights in both of the centers. And I've been fighting with the state for probably 2 years, is that I'm convinced that the middle lights, Brickyard Road light, and these other lights are not synced to the villages. And because they're not synced with the villages, it's messing up the traffic all over the place. So they've been doing studies and coming, so there's a lot going on, and I probably would be useful maybe to have the committee meet with the traffic people, myself, and see what's important, what's not important, and what we want to take on as a group. There's, you know, at one point, we would be going to the state. I met with the commissioner on a quarterly basis to talk when they were doing the road projects and the different things. We had different things that were going on. You know, I always say to the group is that we can fix traffic in Farmington. We've chosen not to do that. We have chosen not to do it. We don't have another lane. We have some different things that we've chosen. But is there stuff now that we can do? Because are we back where it's now getting close to intolerable again? And so do we need to start looking to see what are the next solutions that we can do?
So you think an ad hoc committee would.
Like
help
an
you in
ad,
that
maybe we
direction?
add that to the goal and have like an ad hoc committee and have people, like, let's talk about like what are the different things. I know the timing of the lights is big, you know, so there's a lot of different things that are going on, and unfortunately, a lot of it's not on our control, but we can put pressure on. And what's the priority? What do we see as the priority that we want to fix?
I think that's a great suggestion.
I think if you do that too, it's, somebody said it, but I'm just saying it again, it's smart. Jump on it. But basically, so, you know, we are gonna set the policy, and the people, the staff that we trust is gonna, we trust them to carry it out. And so, you know, you just wouldn't wanna have a situation, you know, I wouldn't wanna be sitting in one of Kathy's department meetings, back taking notes of the staff, you know, so I think like us having this ad hoc, setting priorities, and it's similar to what we were just talking about bikes, targets.
And I think
That does it.
yeah, and I think again, traffic review board has been doing it for 20 years. It could use some tweaking, you know, and if there's something that, you know, we can do to tweak it and do some different things, I think this group should talk about it. It's fine. I'm not against that.
Then just get the question. So you say the mixing traffic, it's the idea of if we ever added maybe multi lanes both ways, we could probably do something about some of the congestion.
Yeah.
The concern has always been
Right.
which is not what we're looking for. So it's the thing where, so the committee that we form would be to try to find the creative solutions to avoid becoming 44 hour.
Or, yes, 100%. Or, and again, I may be wrong, but I am pretty convinced that the timing of the lights are not working correctly.
Yes.
Regard that back.
And it, to me, it's more about political pressure
Yes.
of the group to have someone finally come out and actually agree and say, we need to look at the Brickyard Road light, and now it has a daycare on the other side that stops it all the time, and Town Farm Road, and those lights need to be connected, and getting some pressure to the state to say, listen, you guys need to do a study, or we have to, and Connecticut's lights are as antiquated as statewide. They, you know, you envision like people in like a dark room looking at like the lights and stuff, you know, like they hit the button, and this Porter School, they love Starbucks. They're coming across all the time. And what happens is it gets jammed. And now it's hard though, because we don't know when traffic is. And so before I would call and I'd be like, I know it's off because it's, you know, 8:10 on Monday, I come in and I know it's not right. Now I'm not sure because 8:10 isn't the time everyone comes into work. And so that light, that button could be messed up for 3 weeks, and the state doesn't have anything in their power to tell you that it's messed up. So no one comes out and fixes it. And then all of Route 4 is messed up. So I think what you said, Keith, absolutely. But I think kind of putting it more to the top burner, getting an understanding and getting our legislators to say, listen, we got to look at this. We're a regional area here.
Moves us in the right direction, so I think that how committee could. go
You know,
on.
everyone, I think also conveys, it's a serious concern that we're actually going the extra mile.
Yeah.
When we're talking to the state, we're talking to the legislature, it's not just kind of, you know, kind of the anecdotal where everybody's had their experience. Now we're making a more concerted efforts.
Right.
Draw attention.
Right. And And, everything takes time and effort but it does, I'm sure Russ and my picture is next to the DOT with the big because we go in all the time, but again, going down and seeing them and following up on letters and you guys know the state. I mean, now even with our traffic review board, I have like probably 10 letters. That's my fifth letter to the state of Connecticut and no response back.
And that needs to change. I mean, just think that the light is timed wrong for coming into Unionville Center, the light at New Brigham, and then you have to stop, and then you have the light at Stop and Shop. The number of times I have stopped at the light at New Brigham, at the front, right there.
Yeah.
And I watch the light cycle because there's no.
Right.
So I think,
I think,
yeah.
I mean, to Keith's point, I think the ad hoc subcommittee is great. I actually think it's needed right now. I think traffic is a true priority and has been, and I think you nailed it, Kathy, when you said it's, it kind of ebbs and flows, but it's at a point now where it's an issue, and I think we need to tackle it. But to Keith's point, I think, the ad hoc committee will be that first step, because I don't see any of us like trying to micromanage the state traffic, this traffic review,
Yeah.
right? I don't want them to have the impression that we're gonna be in a room taking notes, ready to Monday morning quarterback. That's not our intent. Our intent is, how does the council leverage their presence, as far as an ad hoc subcommittee, to basically partner with the traffic review board and further the initiatives.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Katie, any comments on this?
I'm in agreement.
Hey, Bruce, anything? All right, are we in agreement that an ad hoc is something we want to consider?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Moving on.
Yeah, I am. Make sure. Yeah. All right. We're on goal 5, to establish an ad hoc town council subcommittee to work with town staff to review chapter 169 streets and sidewalks and to make recommendations for any updates to the ordinance to the town council for approval. So this is ongoing. Our ad hoc committee, as you know, Keith and Brian, and people that are new on the council, I just want you to know is that sidewalks are hard. They're really, really hard. People don't realize it, but they're complicated and they're hard. So we've been making good progress. I would recommend that we continue the goal. We're looking to update the ordinance if needed. We are coming at I think, Kat, what's the date in February?
February 19th.
February 19th, we're gonna have a big community meeting on what we've done. And it's gonna go out in the town newsletter coming out just with that date. We've been working on the presentation. But I will tell you that we've reviewed a lot of ordinances in Connecticut. We're only hitting Connecticut because, again, sidewalks in different places are totally different. And our ordinance, I think every town the state probably came up with a sidewalk ordinance and gave it to everyone, and everyone's ordinance looks like ours. It's hard to read, it's convoluted, but they all say the same thing. So, but I think that the group, Keith and Brian, we do have some different things that we're looking at. And again, one of the big things I think that there's some interest is that when we want to build new sidewalks and how we go about doing that. And so it's, there's the maintenance end of it, and then there's the new sidewalk. So the cost. And the cost. And we've been making good progress, and I would recommend that we continue with the sidewalk ordinance.
And when you're talking about building new sidewalks, you're talking about sidewalks that aren't connected with a building project.
Right, exactly.
The project is for a new sidewalk to be in a certain right of way.
Right, for instance, like the Meadow Road one. That will connect to what our group has come up with, like criteria, and we've had these things, but it just hasn't been codified. That says connect to a trail, connect to a town center, connect to a school. And I think, and correct me if I'm speaking out of turn, is that I think we want to turn the narrative, instead of the public coming to us with their recommendations, which is fine, that we have a list of where we would like the new sidewalks to be. And then if there's an interest in that, then we start funding it, we get grant funding for it, we do those different things. And so we say, you know, this is a good area, and our group is coming up with like where we think this would be a good area to have a sidewalk.
We're
And that's-
prioritizing which.
and prioritizing which ones that would happen. And, you know, one of the things that we talked about is because going back to traffic with Route 4 and Route 6, even though I would love it, I just don't think it's realistic to think that we're gonna have a total sidewalk community where we're gonna do that. I think, but what we do have is we have a great rails to trail system that can take you to a lot of different places. So if you can get your neighborhoods onto the rails to trails, then you can almost go anywhere you want to go. And so that's where I think the committee is looking to say, and that's what this new Meadow Road sidewalk is that takes a whole neighborhood and it brings you to the trail, it brings you to the school, it actually could bring you to Unionville, it kept on going. So these are the places that we want to have the sidewalks. And then again, it's going to be about money. And again, is the town's philosophy that we're paying for the sidewalks, or are we getting grant funding? Are we doing 50-50? So those are the things that we're kind of working out, which are all policy decisions. But we've been making good progress with this.
I'm glad we're doing the community outreach, which is a big part of it.
Can I, so other than the newsletter, how else?
Typically, we would do it in Friday folders at the schools, have a flyer for that. We would do an Everbridge, social media. It did hit in the newsletter. I got mine over the weekend. So we were trying to give ample notice so that we can supplement with those.
I think that the more people we can make aware of this, the better it'll be to for other folks.
Yeah. And I think it's gonna be something that the council's gonna have to think about during budget time, the sidewalk committees, you know. And if you're new on the council, like I said, sidewalks are difficult, but the people that are probably coming to the sidewalk meeting, they're interested in sidewalks. People that have to snowplow their own sidewalk when you put a sidewalk in front of their house, they're not as interested. And the, you know, again, one of the things we had in last year's, which we took out because, and I think actually it was a good suggestion to take it out because we weren't ready for it yet. But I am still not 100% convinced that the community would prioritize raising of taxes one over the other to put sidewalks in, new sidewalks in. If you had to choose between doing X versus Y on your service level, would a sidewalk raise up? In our meeting that we're gonna have our workshop meeting, we're gonna ask those questions, but it's a very small, not small, but it's not the community, group of people. But I think there is probably some basis that we should look at surveying the community eventually about sidewalks, new sidewalks, where we stand with that, but another day.
Any other comments before we move on?
You have. Yeah, I have a question about the roadway generally. I know that 2018, 2019 timeframe, the council asked for basically the creation of the road report that identified the paving schedule.
Yeah.
The only one I found online was that
We update it every year.
Yep, would you like a copy?
I would please.
Okay.
And then maybe
Kat, will you make a note of that?
And maybe, I think it's one of the later ones, talk about the updating. There's a town council document central.
Yeah,
Those documents.
That was from 2018.
Yes,
we looked at
Yes.
that.
So that's one of the.
Clean that up.
Yes.
Yep.
Thanks for mentioning that.
So Kat, you're gonna keep track of those types of things. I'm keeping track of what's going in the plan. All right. Number 5. That is provide needed support to ensure that the Farmington High School building continues to support to receive the appropriate staffing support to complete its objectives. Provide quarterly reports, ongoing recommendation to continue the goal I had written here, and I've heard through the athletic director and Mr. Arnold, discussion of potential modification of scope of committee's work to include overseeing the renovation and replacement of the track and turf field located at Farmington High School. So this is one of the things that potentially have some discussion about, is that I'm uncertain with Mr. Kelly's comment. I know that the turf field probably has another year or so in it, but my understanding is that the track is basically, Kat, you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, from what we're hearing is it is in rough condition. And you don't want to go in and fix one and not the other. So the idea would be to do both of them together.
Right.
They're due.
They're on the capital plan. Because of the really great work of the building committee, they still have contingency money available. I think that the group, and Bill, you've been on, and Kat, is that they've worked really hard to be able to return money. I think that's important to the group. But I think that what I would not like to see happen, I don't think it's a good look for the council, would be that they return the money back. It goes in the general fund, and then we put a bond out as a referendum to do a track and a field. And people say, why are you doing that when you had the money? It's completely appropriate for the project to do that. So
One of the things I think about is that if we were to do that, what would be the interest rate on that future bond? Right? It wouldn't necessarily be, again, as opposed to money that we're already secured.
Right.
In our possession, you have to put the money back. It's not like it's gonna go anywhere else but the general fund.
right.
And then so you have to go back out, like you say, to a bond. And, I know that some people might have different experiences on the track. I volunteered for years up there, during football. If they need to get up there, Keith even up there, I'm sure as well. Pat even up there for field hockey. The turf field itself is fraying, on the seams. When you're actually at the field, you can observe that. The track itself, the rubber, I guess that's whatever the material is, it's rubber, is cracking and in places they have called burping, popping up and things like that. And they're kind of doing patchwork repairs to keep it going. So, I know this is gonna be something discussed at the building committee, right?
Well, yeah, I mean.
Based on, what we talked about a little bit.
I mean, I think whatever we do, the first thing we do is have a parade for them. Because of the good work that they did, it gives us this flexibility to do something like this. I'm of a mindset of, as much as I really like to bank the money and get the money back, I know that they're probably like to love to hand a big check back to everybody. Money was appropriated by the town for improvements at the school. Something that's not a future capital project. To push it off and potentially, I just know that whenever stuff gets pushed off, it costs money. And we have money in hand. There is a need. I respect that. I'm sure there are schools in much more need of a track in the field than ours. I understand that, we have, what we have is nicer than, what I grew up with at IAR, the gravel track, whatever, like that. But when I run it, you come home with some of the track in your shoes. Your point about the seams is true. I just wouldn't want to see you trip on it. It's only going to get worse.
Well, we're gonna repair it anyway.
It's something that's.
From the general obligation.
I just, I know I'm repeating that one point about the building committee, but I do think that, to go back and ask them to keep working and add another thing and whatever else, we need to do something nice for them for this money. I just think it's a big deal for them to finish a project on time, and I was saying it's at least contingency money, at least on budget, if not under budget, and have the ability to make a decision. It's like a godsend.
Well, think of it like this too. If this was a situation where we were deploying the money off campus, right? It was like something over maybe Union School, West, then I think there might be less of an appetite to say, well, let's do this, right? Take this money from the high school and repurpose it somewhere else. I think that would be a little more of a challenge for us to kind of get behind, because it's being purposed on campus and consistent with the overall upgrade of the project. There's certain synergy to that, so I'm sure that's kind of the conversation.
And Do you think, though, again, I'm asking the question, that as the, whoever the liaisons are, the people that at the next meeting, you bring this up with the building committee? Is that how you're looking to do this?
Or there's a meeting tomorrow.
Tomorrow night,
you know
yeah.
that. So depending on how this conversation, I would certainly bring it to, you know.
Are there any other comments?
The only comment I have is there any scale to this thing?
I know
Is there
nothing
any-
more, the only thing we know at this point is that this is the discussion. Additional funding, so we gotta find out some more, what is that actually gonna cost, right? Does it fit within the amount of money that's available?
Right.
Really, this is, again, this is a goal, it's not an execution, right? So the
Right,
goal is,
right.
look into this, see if it's potential modifications, so it's, you know, I think that's where we start. And then we report back, you know, and say, actually, this isn't gonna be feasible, guys, it's a way more than we thought, well, then we talk about that. Right?
I think this, I agree with that. The church bill is in need. Has this money already been funded?
We have it.
Joe, no.
So if we didn't move forward with this, then we're not gonna, we wouldn't have to bond, we wouldn't be bonding this $1 million or whatever. You see it, how does that actually?
Joe, maybe you want to answer that. There's other things that we're probably bonding at the same time,
Right, I
right?
just wanna get a picture of that.
Yeah, so on the high school project, we bonded $100 million of this. And with the anticipation of fees, once the closeout of the project takes place, whatever's left, less whatever the grants are left, you see from the state head, you found that balance. So at this point, if I were to hazard a guess, moment to this, you probably have another $4 to $6 million, you probably end up having to bond on this project. So the total bond will probably come to like $460 million. And all is said and done. And that would be whatever else is spent. We bonded, the last bond we issued was in September, and that was for everything, but that's paid up to that on the project. So everything since then that we have to pay has not been bonded. So even contract, the commitment to retain, for example, that has to be paid out, none of that's been bonded yet. We're trying to do one last bond on that instead of the original project was 3 bonds, we've now done 4 bonds, like all of the 5 bonds. At the same time, like Kathy mentioned, when we do bond, we bond package of projects. Very rarely do we bond just for one project. So the next bond issue that takes place, we have high school, may have roads, may have may have the Westwood, and may have fire trucks, so they package and authorizations.
So in the conversation, it was mentioned, rather than return this money to the general fund, we don't use this $1 million, we're not getting the cash to come to the general fund.
No, there's
Right,
no.
so it's not something back to the general fund, it's just.
No, nothing goes back to the general fund, what happens is, I would say, there's less payback, there's less debt they have to pay back all the time. So you won't be turning any of this money back, you have an authorization. The authorization, actually, on a project does not expire until one, the project is completely bonded, or 2, the project has ended 3 years after the project is ended. So it's, you were saying the high school project is done, this being building tomorrow. 3 years from now, the authorization will go away, but anything that's still out there, left over that has not been bonded, would be available to bond. So it's not, that's basically how it would work.
Any other questions? All those in favor of us continuing the goal and just doing a little bit more exploring and seeing where it goes?
I think agree with Mike. That does change my understanding of it somewhat, but I'm still in favor of it.
That was education.
Financial part, it's different in my head when I, first speaking. However, my stance on getting more information and being in favor of doing this.
Well, I think that's again, it's still on our capital. Joe, am I right, that interest, we have a different interest, it's not, in other words, let's say a future council decided they want to go on, about the track field, that would be a different complete different project, right? Different interest rates, all that kind of stuff?
Pretty much every, yes and no. Every bond issue has a different interest rate depending on market condition, timing issue. We've actually, the high school's had a pretty big run of bond issues that have interest rates, even though they've been over the course of 4 years now, the interest rates have been in a pretty tight range. You're not talking about, you're not talking something like a 3.2 versus a 3.4. They've all been in a range of like 3.2 to 3.5, 6. Over time, if the economy goes the way it's going, interest rates should go down. Or stay where they are right now. The last bond issue was 3.29 to 3.3. So it'll probably be in that range again, at worst.
There is a lot of economies to scale though, Bill, to your point, like, because you're doing a change order, they're all up there, that type of thing. There's different things that could work. It seems to, I definitely think it's worth exploring.
Yeah, it's a goal.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a go, so let's, very move on to that.
Number 6 is, we provide needed support to ensure the fire station building committee moves forward and receives the appropriate staffing support to complete its objectives. Now, this is when we had established this, it was a fire station building committee, but as you know, it was really an ad hoc committee. So my recommendation would be continue the goal, and I think according to Dave and Nadine, we've met just before this, it would be charge a building committee with a scope and budget, and we're getting very close to coming back to the council.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions?
What's their change in staff workload between an ad hoc?
Yeah, I would say so. Because an ad hoc is a little bit more informal. Yeah, it's a little bit, the ad hoc, again, the building committee, we're gonna be doing designs, we're gonna be doing everything that just the charge is gonna be more intensive, so I think the staff load will be more.
Any other thoughts or questions? Okay. Any views on the, in charge? Is that good? 7?
So 7 is provide the needed support to ensure that the 1928 ad hoc committee moves forward and receives the appropriate staffing support to complete its objectives. Provide quarterly reports to the town council. Recommendations continue this goal. Modification to add language acknowledging the level of staff work required to transition existing town hall departments into the 1928 building. The 1928 building is very close to being done, so that project is winding down, which is great. But the big thing is, concern I have, and I keep on closing my eyes to it, and Kat keeps on telling me, we have to move this building into the 1928 building. And that's quite a lot. So when I say the staff load is high, it's not really the staff load on the building committee, it's really about getting us into the new building, transitioning. So it's a big lift for sure. Worth it, but big lift.
Everyday job.
So have you set a plan? Like is every department kind of?
Kat, what's our plan about moving?
So the plan is to move next month. We're trying to capitalize on the President's Day holiday.
Okay.
The hard part about this project is it's some new furniture, but not all new furniture. So for the departments that are getting new furniture, it's easy because you're just moving your technology. For the departments that are moving technology and furniture and trying to not disrupt operations to the public, that's where it takes a little bit more. So we've created groups of departments where, the first phase is get some people up there, plug and play, they're in, they're settled. Maximizing that President's Day weekend where we could do a weekend and the Monday. And then, so the hope is those that are bringing their furniture with them over that weekend, we get them done. And so you come the next week and plug and play them. And then moving the files separately before everybody moves. So that's one less thing to worry about. So we've broken it into different phases to try to accomplish over a couple week period.
Got it.
With the least amount of disruption to the public.
Snow.
And
Yeah,
smell.
yeah, weather conditions.
And we just need the elevator to be done in a couple.
Anything else? Good with this? All right. Boy,
Goal 8 is to complete the new Westwood Recreation Facility with construction beginning of the summer, fall, and contingent on receiving state approvals. I recommend that we remove this goal.
My question here is, is it 100% done or?
Well, the recreation facility, so we have a couple of things going on. We
Right.
have like the clubhouse and things like that. They're working on upgrading that. The splash park the pickleball courts are done. The splash park is done. The middle building is going to be done by spring and it will be complete. And
Now,
then-
the splash park, has that been commissioned? Like so
right.
everybody's come through?
Yeah, it's ready. It's
Okay.
ready. It's just we're ready, we're calling it the changing room. It's not really the changing.
No, the
bathroom.
central, I know that, I've been up there many times.
Yeah,
I
so-
know the building.
Yeah, so we're planning on having a groundbreaking in, into the summer where we're gonna have a splash park, the building will be open and the whole facility. And then really the next step, when you say finish, we still have amenities that we have to do and a bunch of things. This will be moved into like the department head goals, but the big part of it is done. We're
Okay.
going to be done.
Okay.
all right. So we're good with removing this? Okay.
Sounds like the goal's gonna open the department.
Okay. Goal 9?
Goal 9 is the Meadow Road sidewalk. So if we are interested, which I think the council is that, this will be something that the next step to do the Meadow Road sidewalks is to have a public hearing. The council would have a public hearing for the neighbors, that live right on the street. Obviously, it'd be a public hearing, other people would come. And the council would decide at that point in time if it's going to continue to move forward. As you remember, some of you, is that this is paid 50% approximately by grant funding, 50% through our capital funding and different things like that. And if we want to get kind of to start designing and not designing, getting this out to bid so we can start building it into this construction season coming up, we're going to have a public hearing on it. We've had a gentleman come to our sidewalk committee he doesn't live on the property, but he has a property on Meadow Road, very much against it, just so you know. We haven't got a true flavor of the residents. They don't have to pay for it, but they do have to snowplow it, maintain it. It is kind of a, public-private good type of thing. So council should probably, I think at this point, if you guys keep this on the goals to get it moving, it's going to happen relatively soon. And just so we all know, there could be some controversy that comes along with it. I think that, the neighborhood around it, you're going to get those people that are going to love it. They're not going to be the ones that are going to have to maintain it.
I would say we're gonna have to become comfortable. It's like the biggest thing we said. It's not
Yeah.
like we said a couple times to start our meeting, it's not the Meadow Road Committee,
Yeah.
but because it's happening parallel time, we're gonna have to, as a council, decide, be comfortable telling them, this is going in because it's good for the majority of residents, and then explain why. Then do it, even though there are some people that don't like it. It's something that may make you uncomfortable. So it's like something we will have to, Meadow Road sounds like a great idea, it's not on Meadow Road. A lot of people that are gonna say that they don't want. There's a lot of people, I would tell you, for every person that comes to the meeting, there's one woman, I think, emails every time it comes up as well, strongly saying that she wants it. It's a safety concern for her son, and it makes sense as the schools right there. It's not right. So you can see both sides. It's one of these true test cases. You can see both sides. Deciding what a public good is. It's going to be one of the biggest things to come out. So, it'll be very interesting. We talk about our list of other places that we go. All of us in the process of this. So to Kathy's point, I would just be prepared to be a public hearing where I think there's going to be a good amount of passion.
And I think, my advice to the council would be to think of it in a couple of different ways. We've done different things, there's the public good. And listen, if you didn't have the public good, I don't think we'd have sidewalks in our schools, we wouldn't have schools, we wouldn't have different things, we have the public good. So you could have a position in your head that you know, it is the public good. I think that we will be able to convince the council that, you know, it's leading to trails, it meets all our criteria. It's a good place to put a sidewalk. I don't think people are gonna argue that. There's another kind of philosophy that says, you know, if 75% of the people that actually have to maintain it want it, is that something, you know, are you comfortable with that? You know, it's again, depending on where you fall on it. So there's different ways to slice this, you know, some may say it's a public good and we're gonna do it. And, you know, but you may have someone that really doesn't want it. They're not paying for it. You know, by our ordinance, we could have it, actually have them pay for it and assess it. They're not paying for it, but they are maintaining it. They have liability. So, you know, that's part of it. To say, okay, if 75% of the people that are most affected by it like it, is that a benchmark that you want to go by? So there's different ways you guys can think about how you want to do it. So just, it's going to come soon.
Also saying, I think the public will outweighs a lot of. What would be?
I think we're thinking probably in February, like a special meeting type of thing.
So we would have to announce, what's the timeline? How far in advance do we have to announce?
It's all by our ordinance, so we have to send them certified letters and do different things. We'll get that squared away. Once, my thought was is that once this was in the goals that we wanted to do it, then we kind of like we'll back out dates and things.
Any other thoughts?
Well, I think you trust the process. The process is a public hearing. So, I mean, I think the public hearing is a valuable part of the process because that's time when we can hear all sides of, you know, someone's interest.
All right, everyone on board with keeping this? Somebody on your hook.
This is our land acquisition committee, so I would say at this point in time that we continue with the goal. We do not have any money in the our coffers right now for it, but I think it's beneficial to keep the committee. It's not doing much, but if something comes up, it's a good resource to bring it to the committee and talk about it. Yeah.
Okay, on board?
I'm okay, I have a question.
Sure.
In the past, in terms of funding the land acquisition, I don't know how else to call it, it was it a general referendum that was for $1 or $2 million, and it was just to purchase land, and then that there were public hearings along the way to use those funds?
Yes, the majority of the time we have done it where we, because you had to act fast and you didn't have to like, you know, so you had a pot of money and then you follow a process. You have the public hearing and you do that. That said, we've had individual one-offs where we have done it where there wasn't enough money. I think the Crowell property was one where we went out for about 20%. But I think that most towns, and I think we were like kind of like the trailblazer at the very beginning of this, is that we went out for a bond for $1 million way back in the day, maybe $2 million a couple of years later. So you'd have that pot of money. So when the farm came out, you could rush right in and get it and, you know, not have to go through the whole process, but you have to follow the process.
Is there a concern about timing now if someone said we want to if something, no, there's a property that would be good open space. But if the property owner came and said, okay, I'm ready to sell.
Yeah, I don't think there's any real big tracts of land that would, I think we'd be able to, we'd have to maybe either go to a referendum or we'd have to put in a budget document. We'd have to do something, but we really have purchased most of the property. That's a big tract of land. There's a couple of one-offs that if I had my druthers, I'd like to get. And if that came up, we'd probably come to the council and maybe do an appropriation. We could maybe have to have like a town meeting or do something where we have to put in the budget or something.
Do that?
Goal 11. So this is Rose's goal. I think it's important just to have it on the goals, really because you spend a lot of time is that we participate in regional state economic development activities and provide quarterly reports to the town council. So this has been a standard goal and I'm recommending we continue this goal with no changes. But again, this is just we put it on the front page of the goals, just so you guys all know that Rose does spend a lot of her time. It's important that we go out and do these things.
Definitely seen the benefit of that. Any other thoughts? Good, okay. Oh,
The next goal is the budget, and one of the things way back in the day when we started to do these goals is that we want to put things, because they are town council and town manager goals, again, where my time is being spent, and so this is obviously the budget, we updated to the right numbers, but I obviously continue with this goal.
So Kathy, in the desired outcome, 4.1, prioritizing service expenditures beginning with the 506 budget based on citizen surveys. We haven't had a survey, we talked a little earlier about a traffic survey. I mean, when was the last time the council went out, or the town went out to the town, again, the town government went to the town for a survey?
We've done two, and I think you were on one of the ad hocs for the survey.
That's right.
When was that?
Was that the ad hoc though? High school referendum?
Oh.
I was not.
We did the high school survey. I think it was probably 2013, 2014.
I seem to remember
Yeah.
about that time frame.
Was the last townwide survey directly related to that.
Right, and so I'm thinking, when I was just going through everything, is it maybe time to have, I mean, maybe not necessarily this year,
Yeah.
this is a 2-year goal, right? So maybe in the 26, 27, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes,
Okay.
yes,
I know there's a
but,
cost to it, I know.
Yeah,
there's a lot to
yes,
it, I
but-
think it might be time for an update.
yeah, it is definitely probably time. It's a big production.
I know it is. No, I know it
Thing,
is.
so
It's a big-
I mean, we could put it as like a priority too and evaluate it
Yeah,
on the second year and see about
I'm
maybe
not saying we gotta do it right away, but just something to think about. 'cause I-
consider a townwide survey. I always say, and again, you guys do it too, and the board has done it, you survey people, gotta listen to what they say.
I know. That's why the town is drastically, dramatically changed.
Yeah, it's
In the last 15
needed.
years.
It's that, we did one, it's so, it would almost, we're in 26, 10 years, but we're, did one in 10 years, and now we're on probably 13, right?
Right. So it might be time. to-
All right, so I'm gonna put that as an addition.
And we've done surveys in the.
Sure.
We want to learn about high school, we look for 1928, and we do get information, but it's not like, what are the.
I mean, those surveys, as I recall, were like comprehensive kind of.
Yes, this
We
was
got
like,
a lot
we had a committee to come up with questions, we had public, we had ad hocs, we had a
Yeah,
lot.
and it's a lot to it, I know that. Might be time to have a
good thought. Any other thoughts? Good on that? All right, goal 13.
Goal 13 is what we're gonna ask our legislative group to come next month. And that's this is a goal just to have some face time with them. I don't recommend any changes.
Do that. Okay. I don't have a comment on goal 13, but the desired outcomes, 4.2 and 4.3 that have no goals, they're kind of motherhood statements, quote, private contributions of funds and property tax to the town. How are we doing that? Really seems like a wishful thing.
Well, I think there are times like with some, like, they're all gonna come forward with us. But I guess from the town council, our big express priorities. There have been things where, I know, I'm gonna mess up the acronyms, but there was an issue with some, the funding we were getting back. We felt as though we had been promised one thing and then kind of delivered another thing on the high school building project, right? And so I know that was something that the first 2 terms I was on council, a number of us were really pressing. I'm not saying that that is what sprung anybody to action, right? But it's things like that, where enough pressure from us in these meetings can hopefully get us, make sure that we're at the front of all of our legislators' minds when these things come up for us. I mean, at least what we can do on the other things. And then staff is always working on grants and things like that, so it's a chance we can ask them. It's available.
Bruce, I'll say, meeting, I'm sure you can jump in on this, they'll also come to the school. And that's always one of the most important meetings of the year, because it gives us an opportunity. One of the things that we find in that conversation is calling out and identifying the unfunded mandates. Right? I mean, we see a lot more on the education side of the house, but they also exist on this side of the house. And so I think it's an opportunity for us to support the staff. Because, Kathy and her team, I'm sure they have to deal with this on a daily basis, right, Kat? I'm sure this gives us a chance to say to the legislature, this is the priorities of the council. We need to do a better job, not telling us how to spend our money, from the state level.
You're talking about 4.4, you know?
I'm sorry. I'm confused.
What, oh, I'm sorry, where
I
I.
apologize, I misunderstood, I'm sorry.
I'm talking about the original
Oh.
strategic plan,
Oh, we moved on, okay.
where it says, promote private contributions, to funds and property. To defense.
Yeah,
Anyway, just wondering how you were managing this.
I
I apologize.
I'm sure it's a nice thing. I'd love to have people give us money.
That was a different one.
I don't know why it's in the plan. What is it? What are we intending?
yeah. Old language.
Why don't we take 4.2 and 4.3 out? I think they're worthy things, but
The
not.
only thing, 4.3, that one, I think we do promote awareness in the newsletter for veterans, for tax relief and different things that we put news on,
That's true.
things like
You
that.
can say
So I think 4.2, I think I'm comfortable, we could delete that, but I think 4.3 is legitimate, like different things that we do there are different for elderly tax relief programs, for veterans, volunteer firefighters. And so we do to increase and create more awareness of property tax relief for those in need. So we do try to promote that.
Fair point. I just have an allergy to outcomes without goals.
Yeah. I got
I'll
it.
work on it.
All right, 4.2 on the strategic plan, we're gonna delete. Thank you.
That's why I paid attention for a second.
We are paying
Speaks more dialed in.
So I think we're on goal 14.
14, yeah.
Yeah, and this is just, I spend most of my time just managing the departments. That's what this is. So our recommendation, continue the goal.
Please do that.
Yeah.
All right, all good? On to 15?
This is just, again, going back to the last goal, is to provide the town council a yearly report. People that have been on the council before, I give a yearly report on all the goals and objectives, so I think that we should continue doing that, so.
The one that gets published.
The ad hoc committee for legal services, that, because we still have the the general counsel, I recommend just to keep that on for now, but potentially that could come on, see how that goes.
Mhm.
17,
So we need to change it just to remove bond.
yeah, why don't we do,
You're gonna strike bond council?
yeah, bond counsel, labor attorney, and land use attorney, did these, it's just the general attorney. Yeah, thank you. Number 17, this was, the prior goal was that the town manager will analyze the current operational structure of the community and recreation department to best support the continued growth of both divisions, community, social service, and recreation. So this is complete. Well, obviously it's not done. It'll be in the department goals, but now you now have a director. They have their own budget of recreation. Nancy has hers. She has, her task. I think it's worked out really well, that it was, I think, really good to split the two things out.
Glad we got that done.
Yeah. Goal 18 is that to provide the town council with technical information. So this is a big part of my job, is just supporting the town council and agendas and everything that goes along with that. Recommend keeping that goal, no changes.
Yes, we do. Before we move on. to
Yeah.
19, 5.3, market research survey periodically to better. Should that somehow be incorporated with this or fully?
No, that would be, that's the survey.
So is that the one we just
Talk about, yeah, so I'm gonna put that. Kat, can you make a note 5.4 on the strategic plan? We'll move that as a priority into the goal document.
To do the townwide survey, but
Yeah.
under that.
Yeah, but that's where that we go.
Oh, also that CAT is duplicative of 5.9. It's the exact same.
Okay. 5.4 and
5.4 and
Yeah,
5.9 are.
Making sure.
Okay, an important one we wanted to hit.
Yes. It's critical. If we did not have it, all right, so we did 18, right? So, yeah, 19. Provide needed support to ensure that the Human Relations Commission and the various subcommittees of the commission move forward and receive the appropriate staffing support. Recommendation, continue with the goal and no change.
The goal is written on here is Human Relations Commission and Racial Equity Task Force. Should that change to the various?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is outdated language, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know we talked about this a lot.
Last meeting, yeah, I think Nancy told me that, yeah. So I think we keep it as this. Recommendation and continue with the goal and no changes. And Rule 20, this is the Clean Efforts Committee, that we move forward and receive appropriate staff support to complete the objectives. I'd say continue with the goal and no changes on that.
After, before we move on. Okay, before we move on, 5.7, confirm, best practices stuff, 100% compliant. You know, in the ordinance, we don't really have a policy or procedure. On what that is. And I'm wondering if we could have town council, such town council, look at crafting a policy, you know, procedures. What
Yeah, let me look into it, because I think there is a little bit of procedure. It definitely is not spelled out. We have gone round and round on this numerous times, but we're not taking action tonight, but let me look into this and I'll get back to you. And so that's 5 minutes. Maybe there's something new that they could give us, that's just kind of standard practice or policy. Yeah,
Figure how to do it.
yeah.
On that same page of the plan, 510, that's where, when we were talking about the communication and transparency.
Yeah.
That's where I was kind of putting the town council document central update, so it really is.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
We want to add 510?
Just as a note, 5.9 is a duplicate of 5.4.
Yes,
Yeah.
Pick that one,
Got that.
yeah.
Did we want to add that as a goal, or is it just like a task?
I think-
I don't know how to.
Yeah, I think, again, why don't we go into new goals? And I think there's a new goal that I heard in the last today, and that maybe could be incorporated into that.
Okay.
Yeah, so why don't we do that?
That's fine.
All right. So, new goals, these are things that I've heard, that I think that may have some interest in the council. Again, if you don't like them, that's fine, but again, one of the things is that to investigate the potential for the installation of a cell tower on town-owned land in the West District section of town. Over by West District where Kat lives, where the school is, we definitely have an issue with cell service. Our town policy has typically been that if a cell tower is gonna come on, why don't we try to get it on our own property and collect the revenue? I mean, we can't, basically in these days and age, if a company comes and wants to put a cell tower on someone else's property, it's not our authority, it's the siting council. So I think it's worth some looking into. I think that, and Bill, you would know way better than me, but back in the day, schools were very, very not anxious about this, but things have kind of changed. And also West District is a big piece of property. And I think that there's security issues. We have to do a lot of different things because of the West District. I think that the teachers and different things, they maybe have some buy-in to doing something like this because of the fact that, we have to have special radios and different things with security. So I think it would be worth investigating, if that's something that would interest. Again, just, full disclosure, cell towers can be controversial, having it on a school can be controversial. I don't know, we've had some preliminary discussions with the school, but we have a new superintendent. There's a lot more that can come with this, but if there's an interest in looking at this, I think it would be something maybe worthwhile.
Yeah, most popular person on the house. It's, the cell service over there is really bad, to the point where, like, I'm not trying to be dramatic and hysterical about it, but there is no service with it at West District School, and and there's obviously telephone service. There's zero service at Johnstown. I mean, frankly, Westwood's too.
I was gonna ask, will that cover the Westwood territory as well? Because there's no service there either.
I would think it would help.
And
I think ultimately into extra union.
I have better coverage. T-Mobile. No one, I don't know what they've done different.
I
So,
heard about T-Mobile.
yeah, so one of my questions is, I agree, security problems at schools, communication, I think is critical. I appreciate town-owned land because we get the rent payment for it. I think I like the term investigate, and I would rather it read along the lines of address the lack of cell service in the West District area section, the area of West District School. But I wonder, based on the comments about Westwoods, do we need to look, do we have information about the cell coverage? Like, does Westwoods have a similar problem?
Not that I know, not that I know.
We do get complaints specifically about West District.
Okay, should we put a sentence, section in town to address the lack of cell service in the area?
To investigate the potential for the installation of cell tower on town-owned land. You could say in Unionville, talking about the 085.
Yeah, there's the big one on Fish.
Right. That's on
That area is okay. As you get up, once you get up, it's just very low. On my house, I have 3 bars. I can walk down to my neighbor's house. And I live like a half mile.
like garden spotting. It's just a unit, or you can say, I'm just kicking ideas, let's try to.
The reason I think West.
Single life being out.
It's just so I would think that there, if, I don't even know what the rules are about us.
We're figuring it out.
Yeah.
It's gotta be a winning.
Well, I think that's twofold, right? One is, I think, understanding exactly where there's no coverage. And I think we're anecdotally have this, right? I mean, we know that, but I think part of it is to really define, like, there's no coverage here, no coverage here. And then I guess it would be to address that information with the potential placement
Right.
of a cell tower, in it, and again, none of us are promoting that we want to go build cell towers willy-nilly and ruin, what people have seen land be for a long time, but really understand where we have a problem, and then to see how we address that, and then make some informed decisions on what.
I think to me, the priority would be first and foremost is that we have a school.
Well, I agree with that.
That-
I agree.
I agree. Yeah, and so it's really to address the lack of cell service. We could put in that area, including
School.
West District
Yeah.
School,
That's,
right?
that's good, yeah, that works.
And I would like this, I appreciate Weston School for large property. I want to make it. Just that. I know there's a lot of wetlands all of that areas. Yeah, any construction. I know there's a resident right next door at the school, and there's residents up in the cats neighborhood, so. Yeah, it's investigate. We gotta like open the door and start looking at stuff. Okay, perfect. Would this be, you're not envisioning committee for this? Right? Not yet. All right, to provide the town council with a statement of needs, estimated budget, and recommendation for the renovation of town hall annex, which is the building we're in right now, or next door, and the Staples House. This will include proposed new occupants of the building as a result of programmatic meetings with various departments and nonprofits. Provide quarterly updates to the town council. So as you know, we're all moving out. I heard at soon.
We're not.
Yeah, no, you understand. So we have been meeting with various groups. Right now, where we stand is that the probate office is moving upstairs where the Board of Ed is. So they're gonna spread out upstairs, and we did some renovation for them. They love the area, so they would be up there. The food bank has expressed an interest to come in to the area. We've met with Hope, and we have worked with them, and they would like to come into the area. And also Nancy from in the Staples House, our social services. So it would be more like a social services and then the probate offices. The Staples House needs some renovation, and the thought would be the cultural district. And I'm sure some of you who haven't been on the council have been involved in it. Rose has been hot and heavy with our new cultural district group, and they've been doing a lot of stuff. And they would love to go into the Staples House. And so our thought would be, again, is maybe do this building needs, as all our buildings do, we've been chopping along, it needs the heating and air conditioning system done. So doing the heating and air conditioning system, doing some basic renovations to move all these people in. So we have our campus here. I think it's a nice mix because between Hope and social services and the food bank and and Unionville Museum. I'm sorry, Unionville Museum. They would like to, they need the storage area, and they maybe have a
Climate control storage.
climate control storage area, so they would like to be here too. And we'd still have some storage for different things. So I think it would be, we've been working with the different groups. They're all really pretty excited, but we do need some renovations to the building to do it. So this would be something that would come up in the capital budget in a month.
You might need a bridge to get it.
Yeah. But I think it would be a real nice mix of, having the town hall annex kind of be with that type of group in it, and then us up on top of the hill. This is a statement of needs, the next step be that we have to create a building. It depends. It really, I read the ordinance, and depending on what you want to do, you can absolutely create a building committee. You don't have to, you have to like assign someone a task for it. So I think we see where we're at and go from there. The first thing is that I think when we get the state, we're gonna have the statement of need and the money and things like that. But I think the biggest thing is that we have to come with kind of like an idea of who wants to go there, and people talk to the council and say yay, rah, rah, and the council's kind of got to put their stamp of approval, and then we go from there to start moving this all along. But there's been a lot of excitement. We've had some designs and some different things, and like we met with Hope today, and we had some different things that we came up with, and Hope moving out of the senior center would really give the senior center some more room, and also has some, it mirrors some of the things for social services. The dial rides will be here, right here. So I think it's a nice marriage of different things. So,
All right.
next goal. So this is something for council people that have not been on, but I've been talking about many, many years, but we've been talking about it a little bit at the council. And I've been trying to come up with something that talks a little bit about succession planning for town staff and some different things. And, a difficult topic because it's not a science.
You know, you have people, you have different things that go along with it. But I tried to come up with something that would have some value to both myself and to the town council. And, you know, a lot of it's not really public, you know, about what you talk about. So yeah, so I thought, you know, again, it was a stab if you don't like it, but I thought that we tasked Pat and her group to provide a report to the town manager on the status of the challenges of the town succession plan for critical roles to help ensure operational continuity, and provide an annual report. And that, you know, when I meet with the council, kind of go through it, just where our weaknesses are, where we have our strengths, where I see some different things, where we can see some improvement. We're continually working on different things for succession planning. It's not like we don't do that, but kind of have like like Kat can go through and just kind of see where some of the weaknesses are. I mean, we're blessed here in Farmington that a lot of our higher level positions, we're a desirable place to come. People want to come here, and that we can recruit to have people come in. So there's that aspect, but we do have some vulnerabilities and some different things. Some of them, I'm not sure that we could solve a lot of things, but it's a lot of money and, you know, some different things that go along with it. But just have a report and some different things, like to have the council have a little bit more awareness of what's going on. And so this is me giving some feedback from what I've heard from the last council. If this is not what you were thinking of, you know, I'm open to something else.
This being an executive
It
session.
would be more, it's not really an executive session. It'd be more in my evaluation, have a discussion about it and different things, which we typically do anyway, about some various things that, you know, are going on. We do have, you know, my direct reports, myself. We have an aging workforce, but then on the other hand, we have a you know, potential of a brain drain. But it's also municipal jobs. There's a lot of municipal jobs depending on how the economy is and where we are. You know, it's not just high level people, it's the highway foreman. There's different other levels that we have to look at too. And are we grooming people? And it's hard when, you know, before you had people stay 30 years in, like I'm talking about some of the lower level recruiting in, but now if you're you can go work for a contractor and make more money. You're not staying as a highway maintainer and working up the chain of command as much. You know, that's just not happening as much. So, you know, police, you know, there's a shortage of police. There's things we can do about that. We've been working on some plans that you guys are going to see in the near future about that, because, you know, police are able to retire early. You don't have a lot of people coming in. We have young police officers. They're able to get jobs almost instantaneously when they leave, where at certain times you don't have that happening. Now, the minute they turn, you know, their retirement age, they're out the door because of pensions and things like that. Can we keep some of these people in a little bit longer for us? Because we have a young group there. So this is just some thoughts.
So I'm trying to envision this report. Is it a report that's going to show us positions and you know, median ages and work? So what? So
no, I think it's going to show like I think like where our weaknesses are. I think like, or say
like this department's going to be in a critical zone in 2 years or something.
Yeah, I think like I've never done it before.
Okay.
I don't know.
No, that's why I'm just trying to get my head around it.
We've been trying to look on it and look to say, you know, not all positions are critical, you know, but you know, you can just look around and say, you know, where we're at on some of these critical positions and say, listen, I think this one we could probably go out and recruit and we're not going to have a problem with it. Engineering now, very difficult, you know, and then we've talked about it in some of our meetings, and it's a blessing, but it's also not a blessing, is that we have some wacky positions here, which are hard to fill because we've merged people, we've brought people up from they started and we've changed positions. You know, Bruce Sear, he's been here 30 years. He's a planner and an engineer, you know, but is that a critical position? Yes. But do we think we can fill it and do some different things? So have Kat kind of look at the organization and let's start at the first stage and see, you know, are we on a crisis situation or no? You know, something like that.
So I've been involved with a number of these things in my previous employ, and there's three things that I think are very useful in these kinds of discussions.
Yeah.
The first one is risk. So you assess key positions, engineer 5. What is the risk if we lose our engineer 5? And you can grade that like one to 5. And that really is the impact. What would happen if that person was gone tomorrow? So you have a risk of it happening, the impact if it does happen, and then mitigation steps you might take to ameliorate it. So you have those three columns and you go through those critical positions and you assess them against the dimensions of risk, criticality, and then impact mitigation steps to do it. So I think it's a great idea, and I think it's really worth doing, and it could really be a way we could look and see where we have critical potentials and what we might do about them. So I think it would be an excellent discussion.
Yeah, I think it's an introspective kind of approach to leadership.
Not do that.
I mean, there's also, similar to saying, there's also, even non-blockers, with plotting where your people are and in their roles, they can succeed within 2 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And then you can visually see what it looks like and where your risks and opportunities are.
Yeah, and I think, and to be fair, like, we do some of that, it's not like we're like blind to what's going on, but I think that actually sitting down and getting some of it on paper and doing some of the risks, even though we kind of inherently know, is helpful. And that I know, but do you all? Probably not. And so that's like the next thing that I think is needed.
All right. Great idea.
All right, so the next one is that the town manager tasks the director of public safety to evaluate automatic traffic enforcement safety devices for town council consideration and action. So this is the cameras for the stoplights and the speed, thank you, the speed. So there's a whole process in place that has to take place to do this. It's a huge thing. I mean, you see other towns doing it, but there's a lot, it's a big policy decision on what it is. Typically on what we do here in Farmington with the chief is that when there's been a big shift in kind of policy decision, we in Farmington typically don't want to be the first one to do it because things change and, again, it looks great on a town that's getting all this money, but all that money that's coming in you've hired 5 new officers because every single one of those cameras that go through has to be looked at, different things. So there's a lot to it, and there's still a lot of, like, not globally, like state stuff that still is coming around it. But I think that I think it needs to be on your goals because I think that people are going to ask about it. And I think that we need to show that we're starting to look at it. And the first thing would be an ordinance. And we've been working on it. And it's an ordinance actually to say that we would consider doing something like this. And like we've talked about, like where we would want to do it. And let's take for instance. It's not an easy process. You have to go through the state. You have to have all this data. You have to put it in. But one of the places that we've talked about that possibly would be a good speed place to do it would be on Route 6. It's high accidents. Mm-hmm. It's high accidents, and this is like would be a good place. So this would be like we haven't investigated it, we haven't looked at it, but I don't see Farmington having 22 of these all over the place. I see us having it if we're going to do it. Maybe on a Route 6 where you have high accidents, high speed, you have a road like that, you look at something like that. The whole idea of it's the speed and going through the red light. I know anecdotally that the chief's not crazy about the red light one, meaning that I'm not sure he feels that that's a need for us to do that one at this point in time, but this is to task him to start spending time to look at some of this stuff.
So what's with this goal, what would be the deliverable or the request to town council? What would we be getting?
I think that Tessa to evaluate. I think it's gonna be a recommendation of whether, A, we wanna do it. That's gonna be the first thing. And then if we wanna do it, his recommendation, if the council wants to make a policy decision to do it, get information to the council so that you can make a policy decision. And then if we are going to do it, where we would want it.
I don't think we have to do all the ones, we can do stuff there.
Presentation of recommendations, and from the recommendations, we'll figure out at that point what's next.
It's really just to start looking at it, and it's a big undertaking, but there's, you know, it's a safety thing, but also there's a lot of financial ramifications that come with it, but there's also, it comes with staffing, there's a lot.
And current that I picked up today is
Yeah.
the same. And one of the things I saw was one of the benefits they actually are seeing people slow down.
Yeah, which is that what we want. So, you know, it's one thing to be a revenue driver and then no one slows down. I mean, that's the purpose of that. The purpose of safety.
So it's a comprehensive report back to,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah, I think it's
right?
gonna
It's gonna look at a financial piece,
Yeah,
it's gonna look at
everything.
like everything.
yeah, it's, we're gonna try to get you all the information you need so you can make a policy decision on whether or not you're gonna wanna do this. Based on, I think, the chief giving his recommendation, whether it's something that we should be doing or not. And I do think, like, we've had a lot of discussion about it. I think that there's really just a few key areas. And like I said, that Route 6 is one where we've had tons of accidents. There may be a real benefit to have something there to try to slow people down, accidents, you know, but he's been calling other places to see how is it working. You know, you know, like I said, you have to go through every single one of those tickets. And you have to go through it. They're hiring people. It's not easy.
The 250th next thing?
Yeah,
But
it is.
before we get there, I just want to follow on our thought about, the fact we have to do a web update. We
Yep.
talked about that, so I just want to see if, we don't have the page for it, but I talked about,
Yeah.
you know, we have to get this, update done by July 1st. 7th,
Yeah,
and that we've got, that our website definitely needs an update, an upgrade, and put together a small committee to talk about what we see, what, you know, what needs to be changed, what is fine, and what we can certainly transfer over, and what we might need to add to make it a little more updated.
yeah.
Integrated and more communicated.
Which brings me to what you were saying about the
The
documents.
documents.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think something, you know, maybe we've had it back in the day, we did, and it worked, that was the last time we updated the webpage. Have like an ad hoc committee, usually it's like 2 town council members, or IT, maybe Kat, to look at the webpage, do some of the different things that go, I'll come up with something for the next meeting, but an ad hoc committee, update things, there's, you know, it needs 100% needs a refresh. So, I mean, I think that just time, money, and stuff like that, but,
But we also have a deadline that, what we should
Yeah.
get to.
yeah, but,
And the deadline's just for the switching.
The switching.
To that.
right.
We're gonna do that.
Yeah, and Ron and I talked about that, and I meant to talk to him today about that, because we've been, again, everything seems easy, but, you know, when you change your webpage, everything gets changed. And so he said that maybe there was something we could do, but let me get some information, but regardless, at the next meeting, when we do the goals, I'll put another goal about the ad hoc for web and some like other stuff that goes with it, right? How about that?
Thank you.
Yeah, perfect.
Just want to make sure we agree.
No, I had it on my list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyone wants to go to D2?
Oh, no, yeah, so, and the next one, the last one is to a joint committee for the town of Avon to plan and oversee the 250th celebration. And the last council had a report on that, you know, it's in July or in June, it's happening soon, so I think if you saw on your agenda, I have an item for discussion. If you guys do know, if you like the charge of how many people, if there's a committee member, if a council member is already, you don't have to appoint it, but meet with Jesse to kind of get things started, and Avon is geared up, and we can start moving for the 250th.
Right, and someone from the first and someone from the
From the
second.
second district, I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
On the goal,
Yeah,
can I clarify the annual report? That this is happening, like, says provide an annual report to the town council, but
yeah.
the celebration's happening in July.
Right.
So is it really an annual
No.
report, or should we be
No, it would,
making it a different?
yeah, no, that's not, yeah,
Like a report?
yeah, not good.
Great, okay.
Write a report. It would be at the end of the year, like in my goals, I'd say.
Okay.
We did spectacular. Super.
Fireworks.
Yeah, fireworks. So those are my additions, those are my deletions. It's pretty aggressive, bro.
I have one suggested additional goal under 5.6, which I think would be useful. Give me a sec to do it. It says enhance high-level productivity and job satisfaction among townwide employees and volunteers. I think a satisfaction survey would be useful in helping document that. I think we run an excellent organization, and I think there's some ways we can do a report to council for the information we have, and I think you should have wide latitude to pick whatever information that is, whether that's, voluntary attrition statistics, how many open positions we have, how hard it is to fill certain positions, whatever color commentary to provide to give us some understanding of the staffing challenges and successes, things we're good at. And I heard you mention we're an employer of choice. That's great. I think those things need to be said a little bit more.
Okay, are we looking to survey the employees?
Yes.
Yes, okay, that's what I thought.
So an employee, not like a visitor, resident.
Correct.
satisfaction survey,
No,
but an
not
employee.
town residents, the town staff, the town employees, right? Because that was really the outcome, right? We're running a highly productive and highly job satisfied townwide employees and volunteers. Well, let's show that.
We do that every other year.
Right? Well, that wouldn't be that hard, right?
Not exactly.
I just thought it would be useful.
Yeah. No, it would be useful, for sure. We can put that in after.
I'll stop now.
Do we need further discussion on the 50th?
We are, but I think we need further discussion on this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So is there, the thought would be is that at the next meeting, I put all this together, get rid of the other things that we talked about, kind of clean it up a little bit, and then that would be where we're at.
How ambitious is he? Is it heavy strategic plan, or is it on plan done?
I think, again, I don't want to overpromise.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once the high school, the high school is done, once we get the move out of the way,
Yeah.
I think we should have some capacity to do some of this stuff.
I just remember you saying, and I shouldn't put anything in the strategic plan, like we don't really.
Right. I think that, maybe what would be helpful, maybe at the next meeting, that we prioritize some of the other stuff, just that we have that into the second.
Phase 1, phase 2.
Second year, and that we talk about, and how we did the first year. It's gonna take not a long time, it's gonna take some time, we're going into budget, getting people, this fire station building committee is big, moving into a new building, but I think if we prioritize some different things,
Yeah.
we look at that, it's, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Right, you don't need to approve it, it's to work.
Right.
All right, and let me just, yeah, before we get to that, sorry, Brian, I just want to make sure, because I'm the goal person. So we're gonna have an ad hoc traffic, I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna go offline and I'm gonna see if there's something we can do about the ethics and see if there's something that we have for that. I'm gonna look at that. We're gonna consider a townwide survey, but that's definitely going right at the next thing. But we're gonna put that out there and we're gonna do an ad hoc committee on the webpage and some other things on it. And then we're gonna have a town staff type of survey, what Bruce talked about. I'll do the wordsmithing of it, but I get what we're talking about. So that we're gonna add to it. All right. All right, now I'm ready.
Okay.
All right.
Don't want to rush it.
No.
Oh, yeah, would like you to stuff on the American Republic Celebration.
Okay.
So,
All right, so you have the written document in front of you. So in recognition of the upcoming 250th of the founding of the United States, we're going to work with Farmington and Avon in establishing a joint 250th celebration committee. The committee will assist the planning, coordination, and implementation of activities on June 26, 2026, with a rain date of June 27, consistent with the American 250th celebration plan. This was endorsed by the previous council on the December 23rd meeting. I have attached the presentation. This evening, if you guys want some more information about it, but it's the intent of appointing subcommittee members and approving the charge at the next meeting. And if the town council liaison is, then like I just said, it could work with Jesse, but basically it would be a liaison and 2 residents. And the things that they would be doing now, again, because we've been moving along on it, Jesse and Avon, they've like secured that the fireworks people, they've secured like bands, they secured like some of these different things because we had to be.
Right.
But we need to market it, we need to promote it, we need volunteer recruitment, like Jesse has talked about, we want a big event. We need community and nonprofit engagement. That's like the other groups that are doing 250 and stuff. We want to make sure that they're included and that we're publicizing some of these other things that these other groups are doing. Staff collaboration support, so work with the town staff on both communities to provide volunteer advisory and support. And then recommendations to the town councils to make recommendations to both councils regarding program development, budget considerations, and partnership opportunities and support. Jesse really feels that we can do some sponsorships and different things. So I think it's a great event. We haven't had like a real big townwide event. And for the new council, we're trying to kind of simplify. The envision is, you know, some fireworks, the patriotic music, the bands, and food trucks, people in lawn chairs. We have it in Avon, they have a nice spot to go. We have some historic elements to it. A lot of the other, like Stanley and other places, they're doing their own thing and they're publicizing it. We're trying to be, I think, the clearinghouse on the webpage to help promote their types of things. And then we have like the big fireworks and have like just a nice family kind of a event. I think we've reached out to the high school, some of the bands, but also a patriotic band. So some things, again, the committee has to work out some of these details.
Yeah, the stop sign by the Brickyard.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Right on the Avon Farmington line.
That was a big deal.
Yep, yeah, and they did the dream ride there not the dream ride, Relay for Life there this year, and it worked out well, so it would be collaboration with the police, getting people in, but there's not a lot of neighbors there. They have good parking there, they have good facilities there, they have good places where we can put buses and bring people in. So we think that that's a good location for it.
When Jessie presented last, she mentioned sponsorships.
Yep.
She pursued that. Have we had any luck?
I know that she's interested in pursuing it, so I don't know if she actually, I know that they're working with Avon to get their position on what they feel about sponsorships and stuff like that, but I think her experience in her other jobs is that she feels like there would be some sponsorship.
I don't think it's so far, but it's all different. So, is there gonna be overlap of like volunteers, I mean, is the good part?
You know,
I'm just curious how that's gonna work.
You know, we tried to put it into June, so we wouldn't do that. You know, I think the Tungsten Hose probably has their own set of volunteers, the people that do with the firefighters. We're gonna have 2 big events, but I think people are gonna like that actually. Yeah.
Is Avon charging their committees similarly?
Yes, yep. We're trying to work same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. I think we need, it doesn't have to be, it comes into being in January 27th in a week or so.
And you guys could look for your.
So I think we need to like pin that down. We want to make sure we're hopefully selecting people that are gonna leverage what she needs.
Yeah.
And is there one Avon, so we have a Farmington, right? Avon resident, one Avon resident, do we know how that's kind of?
I believe they were doing the same where they would have one council liaison and two residents.
Okay, yeah.
Have the same makeup, okay, so just trying to mirror it the same.
Yeah.
Again, which is pretty cool, again, working with them and having a regional.
Yeah, I like the approach.
All right, so this will be back on the agenda next week.
Yep.
Okay, good. No.
2026.
Yeah, it's-